This is Sparta!
Okay, hi, it's Del here again from Spartan Racing, and finally we've got some Raceroom settings for the DD wheel. Now, one thing I have been doing with the DD2 wheel is I haven't actually been changing my setups in the wheel itself. I've left one setup for every sim and it seems to be working fine. So basically, if you go into your wheel settings, and I'll post these up in the comments below, but basically I've just kept everything the same and I've just been making adjustments within the sims themselves, and I find that it just works fine. So if that's what you want to do, that's fine. If you want to go and fiddle a bit more, then that's completely up to you. But for me, I can just go from sim to sim and just make the adjustments within the simulation itself, and the settings I'm getting is working for everything I've got set just in the base setting in my DD2 wheel. Okay, so let's have a look at Raceroom now. Fortunately, there was a update that came out to Raceroom about not that long ago, which now has a DD2 wheel profile in there, and that's made a lot of difference because I was having some issues with the actual DD2, getting some really bad oscillation and bits and pieces, but now it seems to have sort of settled in pretty well. And yeah, so I've been able to now get really a great feeling back through the DD2 base, and hopefully you guys will get that same experience or be able to tweak it a little bit to suit. Okay, so here we are in Raceroom, and it's not a pretty easy setup. So just go to the settings cog up in the top right hand corner to control settings, and I've set up a profile here for the wheel and the pedals that I have. It's pretty easy to set up the profile. You just you can either detect controllers, or I just go to edit assignment and I just set each one of these. They're easy to set. For instance, if I was going to set my accelerator, I just double click and press the accelerator and it sets it. Do the same. The left and the right should already be selected, and these are all my just gears and bits and pieces that I've set. I haven't really changed much else. The only thing I did do is I added a reset position for VR because I use VR. I'm using the Oculus S, changed over from the Oculus Rift, and I'm pretty impressed with the S so far. It's not bad, but I'll do something on that a little bit later. Okay, so everything got set up. Then my force feedback settings as such. So force feedback on, inverted force feedback on. These are on by default. I don't use a gamepad, so there's no need for that. I've set my force feedback intensity to 65. Played around with a few, but you can go stronger and get a better feel. This is where you set the setting. Make sure you have your force feedback on your wheel set at 100%. We've spoken about before, keeping it at 100% uses the full dynamic range of the base, and you can change the force feedback intensity here. By default, it was on 75. I just found that a little bit much. It felt good, but it was a little bit much. When you're doing longer races, you're going to start getting really tired, so I pulled that back a little bit. I did a little bit of smoothing, just a couple of percent, just to take out some of the really sort of rough, sort of, I guess, what would you call them? The real sort of rough bumps and sort of disturbing sort of feel from the wheel. Spring setting, I just had that on 2%. I don't know why, but there it's there. I didn't put any dampening on because I've got the dampening in the wheel. Force feedback intensity, I played around with a little bit. It sort of came sort of 64 or 65 if you want. Now, this one here, minimum forces, this is the one to be careful of. If you introduce too much minimum force, you will get really, really bad oscillations through your wheel, to the point where I went out on track and I had it set up to around 30, and I couldn't hold the steering wheel straight going down the straight. Sorry for the pun, but yeah, just going down the straights in Monza, the wheel was just rattling all over the place, so I pulled it back. Just added a couple of percent just to add some little subtle forces in there. But if you go too much, this is the one that will crucify you. I left these 55, 40, 80, 100, some slip effect, a little bit of engine vibration coming through the base, some curb effect, some shifting effects, and that was on 100%, but I don't want it 100% if I hit another car, because that'll be very painful. So these are the settings that I came up with that work for me. And like I said, if you're going to play around, then play around with the force feedback intensity of the steering forces, and maybe just be careful with this. Which one was it again that I was talking about? Yeah, be careful with this minimum forces one. That's nasty. Now, I have my wheel set on 1080 rotation. If we go into, let's go into a just a single player practice. I'm just going to use the Porsche 911 GT3 around Monza. There's no Ferrari in here, and I normally use a Ferrari as a base car, but this is really nice, the Porsche. So in the settings here, when you go to car setup and you go to steering settings, this will default, it'll be at 540, and this steering lock will be down, I think it's around 12 or 13. If you want your wheel to actually work well, if you go out on track with your wheel set to 1080 and the wheel range here set to 540, what will happen is you'll turn the wheel and you'll feel like you're not getting any effect at lower speeds. So what I've done is I set this to match what my wheel is set to, and I turn the steering lock up to 20 to as far as it could go. I do this on every car. So when I come in for a car, I come into here, change it to 1080, and I put the steering lock up to the maximum. And then sometimes, I think this force feedback multiplier was up at 2.8. I just pulled it back to 2.5 just to not make it as harsh. So I do that with every single car. So let's, I'm going to jump into VR now. So excuse all the movement, but here we go. All right, let's just make sure my motion sim's turned off, because with my motion sim turned on, it makes this a really rough run. Center the wheel, and let's start up the car. It feels weird driving without motion, but hey. So excuse my bad driving. Now the movements you see in the wheel is everything I'm feeling back from the wheel itself. Man, this game feels great. Getting some nice kicks, and the wheels, you know, having to fight the wheel every now and again around some of these corners. I feel the engine vibration coming through the wheel as well. Just on a side note, I tell you, the Oculus S certainly is clearer than what the Rift was. Oh, that was a bad gear change. So that's Raceroom, and I must admit I am more and more impressed with this sim. Some of the updates they've done have been just phenomenal, and the DD2 base feels absolutely fantastic in Raceroom. So I hope you enjoy it with those settings, and like I say, experiment, try. If you've got comments, if you've got something better, then please tell me. Thanks for the feedback. Thank you so much for all the really great comments, and please subscribe. Hit the like button, but please subscribe, and we'll get some more done soon. And as things get better and things improve, then I'll keep these updated. So thank you very much, and talk to you again soon. Bye.